My sister ruined my dream wedding dress and then tried to fix it with a DIY disaster. Now my whole family thinks I'm the villain for not forgiving her. So here's the deal. I, 29F, have been engaged for about a year, and I'm getting married in 3 months. Like many brides, my wedding dress is a big deal to me. I spent months picking it out, and it cost more than I care to admit. It's a gorgeous custom-made gown that I was keeping at my mom's house because I wanted to avoid any accidents at home. I have a dog that sheds like crazy. My sister, 34F, recently had some sort of life-changing epiphany and decided she's done with fast fashion and wants to live a more eco-conscious lifestyle. Cool, right? Except she's taken it to a weird level, constantly shaming me and others about our choices, like buying new clothes instead of thrifted. She's also become super into DIY projects, most of which end up looking like a Pinterest fail, but whatever. I wasn't going to say anything. Fast forward to last weekend. I stopped by my mom's house to check on the dress and make sure everything was fine. When I opened the garment bag, my heart legit stopped. My sister, in all her DIY glory, had dyed my wedding dress. Apparently, she thought the white was too traditional and boring and decided to upcycle it by dip dyeing the bottom half in this hideous tie-dye rainbow pattern. Her words, "I made it more fun and unique. You'll stand out." I lost it. I screamed at her, and she just stood there acting like I was being overdramatic. She kept saying she was just trying to help and that it's just a dress. I told her she's a selfish psycho and to never speak to me again. Then, and this is where I might be the asshole, I said, "I hope your husband gets so sick of your controlling, self-righteous BS that he cheats on you." She started crying and called me a bunch of names, saying I crossed the line. Now my mom is mad at me, saying my sister was only trying to do something nice and that I didn't need to take it that far. She's insisting I apologize for the cheating comment, but I feel like I was justified in saying it. My fiancé thinks my sister is nuts, but even he raised an eyebrow at that last comment and said I might have gone too far. Aida for saying what I said, or is my sister just the worst? Update 1. So, things went from bad to absolutely catastrophic. After the whole wedding dress disaster, I decided I needed some serious space from my sister. Like, as in, no contact at all. I told my mom that I wasn't going to be attending any family events where she'd be present, which of course led to a huge guilt trip. She's your sister, she's family is forever, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. But here's the thing. I needed time to process what she did, because in my mind, ruining my wedding dress wasn't just some quirky little mistake. It felt personal. She knew how much that dress meant to me, how much I loved it, how much it cost, and she still went ahead and dip-dyed it like I'm some kind of walking Etsy project. The worst part? She didn't even seem sorry, not a single genuine apology, just more of that, I was helping, nonsense. So I've been trying to keep my distance while I figure out what the hell I'm going to do about my wedding. But apparently, my sister decided that my need for space was unacceptable. A few days after the dress incident, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. Yep, just randomly rang my doorbell in the middle of the afternoon. When I opened the door, she was standing there with this weird, self-satisfied look on her face, holding what I can only describe as a wedding dress-shaped object wrapped in plastic. I'm not even exaggerating. This thing looked like it had been made by a middle school art class that was given half an hour and a bunch of glitter glue. So my sister, in her infinite wisdom, decided that since she ruined my original dress, the best way to make it up to me was to make me a new one. Yeah. She made a wedding dress. Let me paint a picture for you. The fabric was some kind of cheap satin, like the kind you'd find in the clearance section of a craft store. The bodice had these gigantic, unevenly spaced fake pearls hot glued all over it, and the skirt, oh God, the skirt, was this monstrosity of random tulle scraps that she'd somehow sewn together to create a lopsided, crinkly mess. The whole thing was held together by what appeared to be safety pins, and I kid you not, duct tape. She'd even personalized it by gluing these giant, gaudy rhinestones to the hem in the shape of my initials. Like I was supposed to wear this thing down the aisle as if it were some avant-garde fashion statement. I just stood there in shock for what felt like forever. I think my brain short-circuited for a second because I couldn't comprehend the audacity. My sister, meanwhile, was just beaming, like she'd created some kind of masterpiece. She actually said, "I made it more you this time. It's unique, just like you." As if she was gifting me the wedding dress equivalent of a Picasso, when in reality, it looked more like the sad remains of a failed craft project. I couldn't even find words. I just kind of stammered out something like, "I can't, what is this? Why would you do this?" And she got this defensive look and said, "I'm trying to fix things." I felt bad about the other dress, and since you're so mad at me, I thought this would be a good way to show you that I care. Like, seriously? You destroy my actual, carefully chosen, incredibly expensive wedding dress, and you think the solution is to throw together some DIY nightmare and call it a replacement? What planet is she on? So I did what any reasonable person in my situation would do. I told her to leave. I wasn't even yelling, but I was definitely firm. I told her this wasn't helping, and she needed to go, and I'd talk to her when I was ready. That's when she snapped. Like, actually snapped. She started crying, full-on sobbing, saying I was ungrateful and selfish and that she was just trying to make things right. She said I was being materialistic, that it was just a dress, and I should care more about the meaning of the day than about what I'm wearing. She even accused me of being shallow and said that I was obsessed with appearances. At that point, I lost it again. I told her that the wedding wasn't just about her, that she had no right to take something so important to me and make it about her weird eco-crusade or whatever she was doing. I said that she needed to take responsibility for what she did, instead of trying to pretend like her actions were somehow virtuous. I may have also told her that she was selfish, entitled, and completely out of touch with reality. Harsh, but at this point, I was done playing nice. She stormed out, screaming about how I've changed and how I'm not the person I used to be. She said I was letting this wedding turn me into a monster and that she didn't even recognize me anymore. She left the disaster dress on my couch and slammed the door on her way out. I was so angry I couldn't even look at it. I ended up shoving it in a garbage bag and tossing it in the closet, because what else was I supposed to do with it? Now, of course, my mom's involved again. Apparently, my sister called her in hysterics, and my mom is back on the family is everything bandwagon, telling me I need to apologize for hurting my sister's feelings. She's still not getting it. My sister didn't just hurt my feelings, she trashed my wedding dress, my dream dress, then tried to cover it up by slapping together some homemade disaster and calling it a solution. But no one seems to care about that. They're all just focused on the fact that I made my sister cry. My fiancé, bless him, has been amazing through all this. He told me I don't owe my sister anything, and that we can figure something out for the wedding, even if it means getting a new dress at the last minute. He's right, of course, but I can't shake this feeling of betrayal. How did things get this bad? How did my sister become this person who thinks she can dictate how I should feel about my own wedding, or what I should wear, or how I should live my life? It's like she's so wrapped up in her new lifestyle that she's lost all sense of boundaries or empathy. Anyway, that's where things stand. I'm still not talking to my sister. My mom is mad at me, and my wedding is in shambles. I don't even know what to do at this point. Do I try to find another dress? Do I cave and apologize just to keep the peace? Or do I stand my ground and let my family be pissed at me for the foreseeable future? Update 2. All right, so after the whole wedding dress debacle and my sister's DIY catastrophe, I thought we were at rock bottom. I mean, how much worse could things get, right? Well, buckle up, because apparently we weren't even close to done yet. A few days after my sister stormed out of my apartment, I started getting phone calls. First, it was just my mom, still on her crusade to get me to apologize. I was ready for that. I knew she was going to harp on about family and forgiveness and all that. What I wasn't ready for were the calls that came after that, from family members I haven't even spoken to in years. My aunt, cousins, even my dad's second wife, who I barely know, all calling me up and telling me that I'm tearing the family apart over just a dress. Turns out my sister had taken it upon herself to call practically every family member she could think of and tell them her version of events. And when I say her version, I mean the most twisted, self-serving version of reality you could imagine. According to her, I've turned into a bridezilla who's obsessed with her materialistic dream wedding, and am cruelly punishing her for trying to do something nice. She told people that I screamed at her for trying to be creative and that I'm choosing a dress over my own sister. She conveniently left out the part where she destroyed the dress and then tried to pass off her arts and crafts disaster as a replacement. The worst part? People actually bought it. I got calls from relatives I haven't seen in ages telling me they were disappointed in me and that I was being too harsh on my sister. One cousin even said, "It's just a wedding. Why are you letting it ruin your relationship with your sister?" Like I was the one who'd taken things too far. My own family is acting like I'm the villain here, all because my sister spun this ridiculous sob story about how she's just an innocent victim trying to help. I tried explaining my side to a few people, but it was like talking to a brick wall. No one wanted to hear it. All they kept saying was, "You shouldn't let a dress come between you and your sister." Or, "Weddings are about love, not appearances." As if I'm the one obsessed with appearances, when my sister was the one who decided my wedding dress wasn't unique enough for her taste. The hypocrisy was unreal. But then, things went from frustrating to downright infuriating. I found out that my sister had posted about the whole thing on Facebook. I'm not even kidding. She wrote this long, dramatic post about how she'd been trying to be eco-friendly and thought she was doing something nice by upcycling my dress, only for me to turn on her and scream at her over something so superficial. She even threw in some vague nonsense about how I've changed and how it's sad to see someone get so wrapped up in wedding culture. The post was public, of course, and there were hundreds of comments, mostly from her friends and acquaintances, all chiming in about how she was so brave and thoughtful for trying to be eco-conscious, and how I was the unreasonable bridezilla who couldn't appreciate creativity. I was livid. She basically painted me as this horrible, shallow person who only cares about having a picture-perfect wedding, when in reality, all I wanted was for her to respect my boundaries and my choices. But instead of taking responsibility for her actions, she decided to make it a public spectacle, complete with her own fan club cheering her on. And I didn't want to stoop to her level, so I didn't respond publicly. But I did send her a message. Probably not my best moment, but I was angry. I told her she had no right to air our private family drama on social media, especially when she was twisting the facts to make herself look like the victim. I told her she needed to take the post down, or at the very least tell the truth about what really happened. I also reminded her that this was my wedding, and it wasn't her place to decide what was or wasn't unique enough for me. She didn't respond directly, of course. Instead, she just doubled down. The next day, she posted an even longer follow-up about how she never expected this kind of reaction, and how she was heartbroken that her own sister couldn't forgive her for a mistake she made out of love. The comments were even worse this time, with people calling me all sorts of names and telling her she was better off without me. One person even said, "If my sister treated me like that, I'd cut her out of my life." Like, seriously? At this point, I was so over it. My fiancé was fuming on my behalf, and even his family was shocked at how far my sister was taking things. We decided to block her on social media and stop engaging altogether. It was clear that trying to reason with her wasn't going to work. She'd already committed to this narrative where she's the misunderstood martyr, and I'm the heartless bridezilla, and nothing I said was going to change that. But here's where the plot. A few days later, my mom called me again, and this time she actually sounded apologetic. She said she'd been talking to my sister and was starting to realize that maybe my sister's actions weren't as well-intentioned. Apparently, during one of their conversations, my sister let it slip that she'd been planning to do some other wedding dress for a while before she even saw the dress. Mom, that she thought my original dress was too traditional, and that she wanted to help me break free from boring wedding norms. My mom asked her why she didn't just talk to me about it, and my sister said something like, "I knew she'd never agree to it, so I decided to as a surprise." Yep. She knew I wouldn't want her to mess with my dress, so she did it behind my back because she thought she knew better than me. And suddenly it all made sense. This wasn't about her trying to help or make things right. It was about her wanting to control the situation, to impose her own vision of what my wedding should look like, without caring about what I actually wanted. When my mom told me this, I didn't know whether to be relieved that she was finally seeing the truth, or even more pissed that my sister had been plotting this all along. My mom admitted that she felt bad for siding with my sister at first, but she still thinks I should apologize for the cheating comment. Apparently, she's worried that if I don't, the family will remain divided, and the drama will spill over into the wedding. At this point, though, I honestly don't care. My sister has shown her true colors, and I'm done bending over backward to make everyone else happy. If my family wants to take her side, that's on them. I've got a wedding to plan, and I refuse to let her sabotage any more of it. And yes, I'm buying a new dress.